club.
Did you ever doubt that you're going to go from the attendances when you took over to the attendances that you are now?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like, did you ever doubt that you're going to get to them numbers?
Yeah.
You did.
Every now. I wouldn't have.
Do you think in step 3, the division that you're in, and obviously we look at it from a locally perspective,
Yeah.
and you've got a lot of derbies and you've won a lot of derbies this season.
All of them.
All of them, exactly. 5 out of 5, is it?
I believe so, yeah.
Do you think that your division is the hardest one across the step 3?
You said from the outside, I mean, we just lost 27 league games in a row for the men's team, and the numbers that we've got now in terms of participation from junior teams and even down to functions and things wasn't there. So I think from the outside, I also knew the inside. That was the difference.
If you'd had done that and gone down to step 4, how do you think the fans would have reacted? Do you think people would have bought? It would have taken them time in that new season to buy into it, or do you think it would have gone the other way? Welcome to another episode of Evolve and Inspire. I'm your host, Huzefa, and today we have an extraordinary guest whose story embodies the true spirit of community leadership and grassroots football transformation. David Faulkner is the chairman of Redditch United Football Club, a club that's become far more than just a football team. Under David's leadership, Redditch United has evolved into the heart of their community, a beacon of social change, and a model that's caught the attention of the FA itself. Recently, David was invited to speak at the FA's prestigious Thriving Community Clubs Better Everywhere conference, where he shared the club's remarkable journey in measuring and delivering social impact. The numbers speak for themselves. Redditch United has demonstrated an incredible £3.9 million in social value to their community. But what makes David's story truly inspiring is how he transformed a football club into a cohesive community hub. Today's episode of Evolve and Inspire is brought to you by Greenstorm, helping homes and businesses cut energy costs and carbon through installation, heating and solar panels. For a cleaner, greener tomorrow, visit greenstorm.energy. David, thank you for coming on Evolve and Inspire. Let's start at the very beginning. You growing up, you in school, what kind of kid were you?
Like I am now, very busy, I guess. I've enjoyed school. I know for a lot of people didn't. Did pretty much every extracurricular activity, every opportunity it gave me. So I was always quite good. I had some really good looking back. Speaks like my two lads are like 10 and 13 now. So looking back at them, speaking about the teachers that they get on well with, and I was quite lucky. I had quite a few. So school was really good. Loads of sports, as you can imagine. And so I took whatever I could from school.
What was your favourite sport growing up?
Naturally, you'd say football because that's where all the opportunities were. But I was into anything and more playing than not spectating or anything else. If me and my brother could have a throwing paper into a bin competition, then we'd make that the World Series, that football was where the opportunities were. But I'm massive into my golf. Especially now, not that I play much anymore because football swallows you up.
You don't play golf much anymore?
No, just football's every Saturday. I've been at the club every night this week so far. Saturday, Sunday, men's game on a Saturday, women's game on a Sunday. So it's been the times fit it in with family, and that's hard to do. But that's always been I say that you got mixed business with pleasure. Yeah. Golf's always my pleasure bit, and I wouldn't necessarily go down working in golf because that's got to be sacred. It's very different. I think people that don't work in football, it's a different world, and I get they can probably enjoy it as a game more so. Yeah. But when you're sort of the other side of the camera, the other side of the curtain, you understand a bit more, and it's a different setup.
When you were growing up, what was your career path like? You're obviously now a chairman of a football club, but what was your career path like? What did you go into first after leaving school or university? Yeah,
I think when I first left school, the aim was to be a PE teacher, partly because I'd always enjoyed my PE lessons and partly because I didn't know really what else was out there. And I think actually if you look now at people that are 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, like you don't probably understand the scope of opportunities. So that was always the plan. So I did sort of college and university, and in my last year I did a teaching placement at a secondary school, and I hated every minute of it. It was so intense. I could literally feel when I went in, like your blood pressure went up. So I still fancied teaching. So in the end, I went into teaching in colleges and then later on university. And that was my background. I took VR from one of the colleges I was working at. And it was at the time where the kids were really young, so we was paying over £1,000 a month to nursery bills and stuff. And genuinely, the plan at the time was to probably not work or maybe do a bit of part time and spend a bit of time at home. And that didn't last very long. I think after about 2 weeks, I hated every minute of it. Not as in being with the kids, but as in like you lose your identity. I think, and a few people that I'd worked with through colleges reached out and asked me to do different bits to help them with either a sports club or like a college. And one of them, in fact, was Redditch United. I went back there and set up their education program again. That I'd been there previously when I worked at the college, and so I went back there and a few other little bits. Then when that came to like the end, I sold off a couple of contracts, and that's when the opportunity to go into Redditch as the chairman became and like sort of limited company on, and the rest is history.
How was the environment when you first moved into Redditch and you first became chairman of Redditch? At that time, from the outside looking in, it looked like there was a bit of turmoil. Did you think that you might have bitten off more than you can chew at that particular moment in time, or were you excited? What was your thought process at that moment in time?
I mean, it's from the outside. I mean, we just lost 27 league games in a row for the men's team, and the numbers that we've got now in terms of participation from junior teams and even down to functions and things wasn't there. So I think from the outside, I also knew the inside. That was the difference. And so what I saw really was a lot of opportunity. And I think culturally it just needed, and I think this reflects the town, and the town of Redditch and the football club are very, very linked in terms of where potentially they haven't progressed. And I'm not talking in recent time, I'm talking from a much longer history than that. So I'd say culturally we had to make some changes, and one of the things that really screamed to me very early was it was almost like it's just non-league, it's just Redditch United, and you think, well, there's 90-odd thousand people live in Redditch, and you've got, on the face of it, a really good facility, artificial pitch, function room, all that. And so I wanted to be better than, not just like our area, but we look at non-league, think, well, actually we've got a lot of opportunity here. So the concept really was we tried to set up what we call like a premium non-league. So we started doing things like hospitality, which wasn't really done at the time. A lot of clubs doing it now. We changed the bar setup. So we changed to some lot more premium beers, changed the decor. It went from, bright white walls and red vinyl lettering with Redditch to, greys and what you'd think like maybe a hotel might look like. And I think at the time, again, culturally, people couldn't get their head around it. It used to be a sports bar. It's like, well, if you're looking at it as a all-round, facility, then we had to try and get Doreen's 50th birthday and, those sort of things in there. And unfortunately, they weren't fussed about having red shirts on the wall and, all that sort of stuff. So I think culturally, that was probably the biggest thing we changed. We tried to make it bigger and better than it was, and sort of look at not just as non-league. And I think that's really helped us. Non-league's massively grown as well. So we weren't the outlier. A lot of clubs now at our level, above and below, are professionally run, and that's that sort of culture that we've tried to create. I think that's been reflected across quite a few clubs in non-league.
Do you think in non-league, over the course of history, it's almost been like for chairmen, it's been like a part-time thing, and whereas we use like a full-time thing, and it makes a big difference in that sense?
Yeah, but you've got to just go in and understand it. I mean, less so now. We've got like a really good staff set up. We're probably around about 10 full-time staff, and so probably less when I first took it on. It was COVID.
Yeah, it was,
We literally had no staff. So I've mopped the floors. I've done the kit. I've done brushed the pitch. I've done quite a few different roles there, and then that's sort of grown with it. So probably less hands-on with that sort of stuff now. But yeah, definitely that understanding helps.
At the time you took the club on, what was your vision for the club?
Quite fortunately, we can go back now with the way modern media is, and my very first interview is still sat on our YouTube page, and not being self-indulgent, it just pops up. I watch our highlights, it popped up before you know it, you're watching it, and actually the message, I'm quite proud of this, and again, it's all back to that culture, that very initial bit as the culture is, it hasn't changed, and the message at the time was grow. We had to grow the club, and all I said in every press release, every interview was grow the club, grow the club. So when you go back to then, we had 11 junior teams. We're now probably over 40. We ran education, but that's now added with numbers, but also we've got a send partner. So we run a special educational needs provision on site. We've now grown the gate. The year before, I took on 211. This year so far, we're just over 700. So it was all consistently grow. I suppose the dynamics changed a little bit now in the respect that we've added lots of facilities in, like the big classroom building there, for example. But we've got less room to grow now. So now we've got to be probably a bit more strategic. Yes, we still want to grow. So like our junior operation goes out to 3 other local facilities. Our community outreach now, like holiday camps and like schools work, is now spreading across Redditch, which is brilliant. But we've probably got less opportunity to grow now because we've run out of space. It's a constant battle with, the council and other local facilities to try and what can we do to expand our facility. So I think the model's still to grow. If you were to compare, Redditch United to a bigger club, my definition of a bigger club is number of people through the gate, their infrastructure. And so we're still aspiring to do that. So we are still trying to grow, but it's probably, the easy wins probably aren't there now.
Yeah. In terms of when you took over the club, you had this ambition to grow. What were your short-term ambitions at that particular moment in time? What was like, I've come through the door now, this is what I'm going to try achieve in the next, a year, let's say. I know it was a difficult time, it was COVID, but you had to kind of bring the club back to life a bit, because at that time you said there was only like 90, 100 people that used to come watch Redditch from a town of 90,000. So what was your short term? How were you trying to get these people back into love with Redditch and back into believing in your project and coming and watching you?
I think the short term aim was probably what it is, and this hasn't changed dramatically now. And I can't say, if you're interested in non-league football or football as a whole, as history and the current climate showing you, the aim's to survive. Yeah. And when I say survive, I keep saying this is not about staying in the division. I'm on about the club. Yeah. Our club was 1891, so we are older than Liverpool, Chelsea and Newcastle, I think I'm right in saying. So it was all about surviving, and it is now in such a tough climate. I think anyone who runs a business now will tell you salaries, national insurance contributions, things are getting much more difficult. So the immediate plan was to literally survive. We needed to, navigate through COVID. We didn't know what that was going to be, lockdown on, lockdown off, things you could do, things you couldn't do. And it's probably the same now. I mean, we've seen Morecambe, we've now got Sheffield Wednesday, and those names are, going to be there, and they're going to change. That'll survive or work itself out. The next club then finds it. So it's about managing that and making sure the club's there for the next generation. And so, especially in a tough climate, it doesn't take much. For something maybe even out of your control. And before you know it, the club can turn very, very quickly. And I think it's just about being aware of that. I think at the time it was genuine navigating COVID. It might seem, you mentioned about from the outside, things are, in a much more positive place, but things can change very quickly in football, very quickly. And so the main aim still really is to make sure the club's still there.
What do you think that you did differently to previous owners to engage the fans more, have more people through the gate?
I think timing was very important. I think obviously coming out of COVID was, I think one of the reasons non-leagues boomed is because of COVID. Yeah. People couldn't go to their local professional club, now professional clubs have become even more popular, so even though you can go, you can't get tickets. So timing's been very important, and I think one of the things we've really focused on is people around Redditch. We've done lots of offers. When we first started back, like you could buy a season ticket at Redditch United for £99, which in perspective was less than half price at the time. I mean, this year we've just gone up to £149 as a season ticket, which I think works out something like £7 a ticket, you know, which again, in perspective, this is a year a lot of clubs have put their ticket prices up. So we're and I know I don't use the word cheapest, I think that's not right. We're definitely the best value ticket. We have the lowest value ticket, but I don't like the word cheapest, I think that's fair. It's a great value ticket. So those sort of offers, little things that we can do to, I mean, especially with season tickets, you're rewarding the people that come every week. I mean, like that's the best thing you can do. I mean, I detest presentation night at the end of the season because there's so many people to thank and so many people to think about. And as soon as you stop talking, you worry about everyone you haven't done. But one of the things we've been consistent over the last few years is we've done this best value season ticket, because that's one way to give back to the supporters that come to see you every single week. And so I think those offers I think have made a big difference. Focusing on big days individually to really promote, whether that be we've done like free entry games, which, you know, I'm seeing some of the things that we did originally are now filtering into other clubs in non-league, and that's nice to see because people are obviously seeing it works. Yeah, so I think that some of them offers have definitely been a massive contributor to the match day, especially. Yeah.
How did you grow away from the first team, how did you grow your football and education academy, and how did you start getting more people to use your function room and things like that? How did you get people to buy in, the local people to buy into this? Yeah,
well, each of these different areas, whether it be the education programme, the function room, junior section, I mean, it would be hard to do it all in one summary. They're all very different bits. I mean, the education programme was, again, we needed to be the best offer. We wanted it to be a good offer. So we invested quite a lot into an education facility. So, you know, a lot of football clubs that run programmes like ours, they may be in a porter cabin or a bar or a backer. We built an actual education facility. So that again makes it a real environment, you know, so that's something that again goes back to that culture of like that premium, it's proper, it's not just okay to do that. No, we want to make it the best experience it can be. The function room, a lot of that was around, I mean, again, coming out of COVID, you know, make sure it was there. I said we changed the decor and things and made the feel of it a little bit different, which is, I think, massively helped. I mean, at the time when I took on, the heating system didn't work, so you're going to struggle to have functions. So you know, we've put a whole new aircon and heating system in. Replaced all the ceiling with thermal tiles, LED lights. The carpets have been done, new furniture. So you've got to make the environment good first. I was quite big at the start. Everything we sold at the ground was carling. And I upset a lot of people, and we got rid of carling. And we replaced carling that we sold for, I think at the time, £3.50 a pint. And it enraged people because at the time that's quite expensive. And we switched out that. We had a really good deal with Heineken and Swallow Wholesale Drinks, who do our drink supply, set us up with Heineken. And we put in Moretti as one of our beers. And at the time, we then sold at £4.50, which is like, you put it up a pound, really. That's all we sold. It's probably most of what we sell now. And so again, it goes down to if it's a good product, I think people will go in and buy it. So those little bits, the gin that has been popular the last few years, we had to go and buy proper gin glasses. It sounds like you've got to, haven't you? Because like anything you go and buy, if it looks nice, you can make it, the perceived value of it more. So setting that environment was key. We've got a really, really busy December coming up this year for functions. Probably the first year I think we've really nailed it, and as much as I think having more functions then means repeat bookers and people buy into it more, but we've done a load with the media and advertising. So we've got a media partner, Green 8 Media. So they've done a whole campaign around Google advertising, Facebook advertising, and really promoted that offer. And we've seen obviously a spike in our bookings, but particularly around this Christmas time. And that's something we started in March. You know, it might have been before that actually. That's an idea of when you're trying to implement something in a business or a football club. Often you think about these things way in advance of when they're there. So we're getting the reward now from the work we've done over the last probably 12 months. And so that's been a big, nailing that advertising bit, hitting the right people. I mean, any business, again, marketing's key. If you can get that right, and you know, the right partners to help us navigate that, then that's been a big advantage to us.
Do you think there was any particular moment in time since when you took over the football club that you thought, I think I made a mistake here, or not, I'm out of my depth, but there's so many things that are out of my control that are not going well for me? At any point did you regret it? Yeah.
Probably every day. There's no doubt, if 100%, and again, people think you're joking when you say it, if I'd known what it was, you know, personal commitment, family commitment, financial risk, things that have happened that, like I said, out of your control, that, you know, mentally, emotionally are challenging. Like, there's no way, if I'd known where it, I wouldn't have done it. A million percent, I wouldn't have done it. Glad I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Glad I did. But yeah, there's loads. The imposter syndrome is what they say. It's like, what am I doing here? You know, there's some things that have happened, even the good stuff, and probably on some of the good days are quite strange. I've invited recently by Reddit, who are our like principal partner and front shirt sponsor, which is obviously a ridiculous company to be working with, and like they invited me over to Holland a couple of months back to talk at one of their events they were doing at Nike HQ just outside Amsterdam. And I'm walking through a random town called Hilversum, which I never heard of, in Holland on my own, walking to Nike's, you know, European HQ. And I'm like, what am I doing here? You know, and that was all part of, you know, trying to share the name of the club. And they invited me across to basically talk about our partnership and what they're doing in the community. You know, I was in London at an event. I know I've gotten really quite well with our new MP, so he invited me. I said to him, if you're around, like, we'll meet or drink or stop in the night. So I met him outside Parliament, thinking that's where we're going. And in the end, we went into Parliament. You know, we had the quick tour, which was really cool. Shown with the books through the hallways, and we had a drink there. And it just so happened the FA were doing quite a few things with Parliament that week. And there was a dinner going on that night, and he just said, well, we're going to try and gate crash it. And I was like, okay. So we're going through the different corridors trying to find this random room, which in the end was right next to the House of Lords, which at the time was in session. And there was a dinner with the Chief Executive of the FA, the Chair of the FA, the Chief Executive from the Football Foundation. And I mean, what a weird night, bizarre night that was. And again, that gives you a bit of imposter syndrome. You know, you sat with those people, and they were very, very, very interested in our football club. You know, and I obviously spoke very highly of the FA and Football Foundation, the support we've had, not just through COVID, but generally. You know, the club wouldn't be where it is without that sort of money that's filtered down. People say the money doesn't come down, and it does in certain areas. The right, you know, for me, the right areas, which is infrastructure. Yeah. And so that, you know, they're the pinch me moments where you suddenly go, what am I doing here? And often you probably feel more imposter syndrome in those environments than you do when things are not going well. I mean, any business, it takes one phone call, one email, and your day's ruined. But then you could also have the other phone call or email where you go, okay, that could be interesting. And I think managing the emotions of it is a massive challenge. That's something that I'm trying to do as best you can do, but some things hit you like a train, and they're really hard to sort of navigate and challenge. But then it works the other way. Yeah. You get some phone calls or some emails, you're like, oh, wow, that will be very interesting, and they can change the dynamic of what you do like straight away. So yeah, that's emotions is the one.
Normally, football clubs have sponsors that are locally sourced.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a sponsor in Reddit, which is a global brand.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So the very seed of it started. So Reddit, people don't know, it's basically a community. So I describe it as like what used to be like an old school website forum. And so you've got different people that will chat about a topic, and that's, you know, in its basic terms, I think that, but it's a community then of communities that are interested in possibly quite niche things. And in that, on the Reddit forum, someone had posted, and it was 15 odd years ago, about how Reddit and Redditch had 2 letters and you're in. I'd said, like, oh, you know, we need to do some more with Redditch United, and there was a bit of a play on words. And that's been sat on the Reddit platform for years and years. And 2 things happened. Reddit, I think, picked up on it, and at the same time, we just brought in Ian, who's was brought in commercial, but now our MD, and he picked up on it, and you know, conversation started to happen in the background, and that's one of them where you think, well, there's an idea going on here. This could be quite big, and so between the guys at Reddit and Ian, you know, we put together a deal where they were going to come and help with us in the community, and it's particularly supported by the r/football community, which again, one of the little communities they've got. And so since then, you know, we've done rebrands of the turnstiles and at the ground. We've done obviously the shirts, which we each year, the last few years, we've done that as a designer kit competition that goes out to local schools. And this year, the 3rd kit we've got was actually designed on the Reddit platform by Redditors and voted on the platform by Redditors. So that was another bizarre sort of, you know, the kits we've got are fantastic. They're not designed by us, they're designed by people. They're then designed, that's been fantastic. So their whole message is around community, and I think our message has consistently been around community. And so there's loads of shared values, there's loads of shared ways of working, and hopefully it's a partnership that will continue to grow, and we're quite excited for that, what that'll be for the future.
There's a lot of things that go into being a non-league chairman, and I think we spoke about this briefly off air. What are the things that people don't see that you do, and maybe don't value that you do, but it's like hard work?
I feel very valued. I think like there's no doubt with whether it's the board of directors or
not yourself. Let's just say generally in football chairmans.
Okay, same thing. I said I do. I definitely do feel valued, but like and people do see it. I mean, non-league football's different. You are around. You know, last night I was folding up the men's and women's kits ready for the weekend and vacuuming the floor. At the end of the night, I've still, if I can, I will do. And you know, that's fine. As a general rule, I think what people don't see is the relentlessness is a word I constantly use. The amount of times on the phone, you know, the people you speak to, the decisions that you make through your day, it's relentless. It's 24/7. The first thing I do when I wake up every morning is check my emails and check the bank. And you know, and before you know it, it's not even 7 and you've sent 20 emails some mornings.
And then as well.
Yeah. And then like the same happens overnight. You check your phone, everything okay, and so I can't think there's I mean you can't I struggle with it anyway, so maybe other people won't be different, but you definitely don't switch off from it, because I say it only takes that one thing. And our football club's different in that we open at 8 o'clock every single morning, whether that's for education in the week or junior games at the weekend. The facility last night closed at 10 o'clock. But later, if you've got a function or an event on a night, that's 7 days a week for us. So it's always there, it's always operating. I think if you've got maybe a traditional grass pitch facility, maybe it'd be different, but for me, the bit people probably don't see is just how relentless it is and just how many phone calls you make. And you know, we're not allowed phones at dinner table. And every now and again I get a little pull from Mrs. F, and she's very good, and when I know she does that, then it means I need to calm down and give it a rest for a few hours. So yeah, that's the relentlessness is definitely the big one.
What's the most rewarding program or initiative that you launched that holds a special place to your heart at this moment in time?
I think that the culmination of lots. I'll go for a good one. So the last few years we've delivered what's called a social impact report. So effectively,
I've seen it. everywhere on social media.
Yeah. Effectively, it was, we're trying to, I mean, we've got the stadium's leased from the council. We're trying to get local people, whether that be politicians, councillors, to sort of understand more of what we do and what we're trying to do. And I said right at the start, we're very linked. The football club's success and the town's success, I think, are linked. So we're trying to. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and the numbers are suggesting that at the moment. So I had someone who was challenging us at the time, who effectively said to me that, "What do you do?" Kind of, he said, "What do you do for the council?" Almost made out of this like we don't do anything, and like we don't work in the community. And it's like either you're very naive or we aren't doing a good enough job. So I went down to what we can do about it. So we created a social impact report, and it was effectively just spelt out what we do: schools, holiday camps, education, supporter initiatives, and what we're doing to benefit Redditch. And the first couple of years we did it was very narrative, very much a storyline, which is great, but if you're going to influence people, and I am, it's all stats and numbers. You've got to have stats and things to back up what you're saying. You can't just tell people what it is. You've got to then show them and prove it. So I went to see Lincoln City and their community. I invited up there to talk about something we were doing, which again was a bizarre one, but I ended up leaving with their social impact report. Yeah. And their social impact report had loads of numbers, loads of values, loads of statistics. And then I went, right, we've got to do this. So I asked them about it, and effectively the EFL had a bunch of funding to, again, they're probably trying to do the same thing at a bigger level. The EFL are trying to show the social impacts of their clubs and their member clubs. So they had a calculator done. So I went to our county FA and said, well, can we do this? How is this been done? I know they'd not long had their social value calculated. So they then put me in contact. So there's a guy called Russ Smith who was doing a calculator for the FA. And so I had a meeting with, I think it was Jim and Russ. It might have been Luke and Russ. It might be three of them. I can't remember now. It was a long time ago. And we basically sat down and went through this calculator with them. So that talked about the junior numbers, went through your accounts, went through the school's provision, the coaching work, the things you do, holiday camps, whatever. And that came back with a value. So if you're going to say the one thing, the reason I picked the social impact report is that then captures all of the things. So, I mean, we are the only football club in the country with a special educational needs disability programme based at the football club, the only one. So, but that's an amazing stat, but it's part of the social impact report. And so there's lots of things that would be standouts, but then doing this report. So when we got the report back, it stated that Redditch United's got a social value to Redditch of 3.9 million quid. Wow. Which is like an unbelievable, and we was like, okay, that sounds cool. That number to be? I didn't really, and I don't think that number really carries credit until you give it context, and it's something that I've definitely learned after when you're communicating stuff. You can say whatever you want. 3.9 million. Well, what's that mean? So the context then.
I think when I saw them figures, I was like, 3.9 million. God knows how it's calculated.
Yeah.
Now that you explain, it's the value of like the kids stuff, the women's stuff, the men's team, the special education needs program, and things like that. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So they came out 3.9 million, but I'd then done my digging into the EFL clubs, and not all of them published the data, and the ones that did, they weren't like amazing. So Swindon Town advertised on theirs as their social value was £1.1 million. Wow. So they were in the Premier League when I was a kid. Yeah. £1.1 million, and I think we were the same as Northampton Town.
Did you try comparing why the numbers were different? Did you go into that rabbit hole?
No, but this is what I'm trying to learn a bit more about now. But that's and the good thing about this, the numbers that we're reporting, they're not our numbers. They're the FA's numbers. So it's not, we haven't made this up. They're telling us this is our value. So when you then go back, I mean, again, I've got a big issue at the moment with the council. So where our ground is, we're the Valley Stadium and we're at the bottom of a hill, and there's one road that connects us to the rest of the town, and we're stone's throw from the train station, but because we're in a dip out the way, we haven't got a shop front. And this one road that connects us to the main road.
It's hard to find your stadium at times.
It is very hard, but it's also when you're there, that one road's got no footpath and no street lighting. So you think, well, we estimate about 6,000 people every week come to our ground. With all that education, you know, with all those kids that are going to come to the ground of a night and whatever. Forget about match days. Match days are easier because everyone comes and goes at the same time. But when I drove in last night at 7 o'clock, you could have the under-9s have just finished training, the under-16s are just turning up, there's an event with someone else is coming down. That road is pitch black and there's no footpath. It's like, it's how that's never been brought up before. Because we've been at that ground since the 40s. Oh, wow. So it's like, I can't believe that's never been like looked at, and why they would have built a 3G facility pitch without that infrastructure as like a real big contributing factor to, I believe at the time that's when they properly surfaced the road, but the lighting and the footpath didn't go in, and I find that bizarre. So we've now, and to be fair, the council have been great, and we've had a bit of support from the Football Foundation and the council to put street lights into that road. It's a bit of a nuanced one because we lease our ground from the council. Worcestershire County Council own and have responsibility for the main road. But Redditch Borough Council own and have responsibility for the road that comes down. So we're going to council, we need these things to help, what is effectively their facility. And they're now saying, well, it's on us. So at the moment, we've got double yellow lines on there because of the doctor's surgery at the top. People park for the doctor's surgery with blue badges on double yellow lines, which in theory you can do. The guidance is, as long as you don't block view, not on the brow of a hill, not near a junction, which that all is. So we're trying to go through turning that into a no loading zone. But the council are asking us to pay for the contribution and the legals and the signage and whatever they've got to do. So we need data like this 3.9 million quid to go, well, hang on a minute, this is what we're doing for you. And if you look at, you know, what the government and what councils and their social return on the investments of the different projects they do, I'd like to think, you know, I mean, we lease the ground and it's, you know, it's relatively a peppercorn rent. I'd still say that's the best, like we're paying them to be there. That's the best social return that any government provision's ever going to get. But, you know, we've got to pay the $2,500 to look into the road, which isn't even ours. It sounds bizarre. So they've done one bit really, really well, the lighting, and in particular, a new member of staff's come in and been very, very supportive, and that's made things like go on. But that's the frustration. So I need this social impact report and I need the data to go, well, this is why you should be helping us. And so far, mixed bits, you know, I think we know, well, I'm sure and with you, we'll probably go into taxes and finances and that, but, you know, the challenges that are out there at the moment, we know that, but, you know, relatively, that's pennies, and I'm still fighting for a footpath. It's crazy, really. And I don't think the football club will continue to carry on growing until I've got people like the council, the local politicians to buy into the fact that, you know, we need that there. I think if you go back to the town of Redditch, there's not a lot there. Redditch doesn't have a nightlife, doesn't have a restaurant scene, doesn't have a really a big event venue. If you want to get 150 people together in Redditch, there isn't really anywhere you can do that. Well, our function is probably one of the biggest rooms in Redditch.
How much capacity has your function room got?
We'll get to over 100 in ours, like sit-down meals and whatever, and then we can do different functions. But like you go to even the hotels, they haven't got massive rooms. So we are genuinely one of the biggest venues in Redditch for that type of event. But Redditch doesn't have what I'd class as an event venue. It doesn't have anything that brings you into the town. And again, I think we're probably one of the biggest things in Redditch that brings people into our town.
I'm going to go into your leadership now, and I think over the course of this podcast you've mentioned certain things that would show your leadership style. What do you think is your leadership style? Probably
From the front. I don't mind a challenge if that's, you know, I don't mind getting stuck in, but probably changing, I guess, as well as, you know, you go through. Because we've got we've got a bigger infrastructure now, so probably I've had to change in a way that I would then manage myself, because I can't do everything anymore because it's so big, and probably couldn't at the time. We've got far better people. I think that from the difference we've got now to when we first went in, because we said we pretty much had no staff, we've got some great staff.
Yeah.
So that enables it to change. So people will say, like, you've got to empower people more, and you can't do everything yourself. People will say that sort of stuff, but unless you've got the right people to, I suppose, fundamentally trust, to get these things done and know they're working and whatever, that's where it can then change. So I probably don't have to do what I used to do, because there's other people that, quite frankly, do it better than I do as well. I've got no doubt that some of the things that we do now, they're way better at it than me. So it's like, well, I don't need to do the doing now, and hopefully can look at the bigger picture things, like the social impact reports, or the next facility, or the next big thing that can hope move the football club forward. So that, the style's changing to reflect the roles changing, I guess.
Yeah, and the people around you.
Yeah.
Do you think you're a control freak? Were you a control freak?
There's certainly a way a lot of things done. There's no doubt about it, and I've got an opinion. I think there's one of the people I listen to, like YouTubey type. They say about not being not an operator of a business, but being a marketeer of your business. So like the operational bit, the reason I want the gin glasses the way I want them is that's what you use to market it and whatever. So I don't think that you're able to be that hands-on, but at the same time, there's a way you want it done. And I think I've been frustrated at times when things have been done I don't think are right, and then you're like, but I've got to let it go, because you obviously can't do everything. And then when they fall down, or maybe it doesn't work, so you're like, but you can't do everything. There's certain things I'm like, I don't like that, but you've got to go with it. And it's not just from a staff, from a club's point of view. If you get enough feedback from supporters of X, Y, Z issue, you've got to, because you can't control everything, and it's almost like their club, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So like, you've got to do things sometimes you don't think are right to do, and that's a challenge. That's hard to do.
With it being a football club, there's obviously a lot of emotion involved, not particularly for yourself, but people around you, fans, etc. And at times, people will forget that for you, it's a business as well as a club. Have you ever felt that from, people around you or the fans or anything like that, that people have forgotten that this is actually a business I'm trying to run?
Yeah, 1,000,000%, and they've got every right to. Yeah. It's that emotion that creates the business. I think it was Karen Brady, one of the comments. Imagine these little things people saying, they stick in your head. And one of the comments she made was, football's just a business. It's just the currency in football is people. Yeah. So actually you need and want that emotion. Yeah. And at times, things may be said, and it's like, I don't hold that, no. There's no personal bit there, because actually it's a big part of it. And when we've had like a bad thing, or something happen at the club that creates a lot of stir and debate, we didn't particularly end last season particularly well. And I said at the end of we do a presentation in the year and supporters come, and some things were probably unfair because there wasn't an understanding from the other side of the curtain maybe necessarily, but also it's like, that didn't bother me because it just shows that people are bought in.
And they care.
And if the different businesses that need, want and must. Need, want and love businesses. And I think the people love Redditch United, and I think some people would go as far as say they need Redditch United, and so that then helps the business to carry on. And when you've got people going to every single game in a season, which we had, I think 3 or 4 last season did that, which when you consider, Tuesday nights in Suffolk are in that list, they're the people that make us what we are. So that the emotional side of that doesn't bother me in the slightest. And I think anything, obviously you've got to do things in the right way, and football can educate people that way, but that's something that I think should be understood. I'm less emotional on it because I understand maybe a bigger picture, and also it's probably my personality, to be quite honest. You know, and you're always thinking like bigger and longer term, and so yeah, I think with any, you look at a match, typical match, probably won or lost on an incident often. That isn't, I don't get fixed on that one thing because someone's missed and then we've lost 1-0, or they've, you know, that doesn't bother me as much as looking at a longer term. So look at it as a season, look at it as 6 months, look at it as a run of 10 games, look at it as 2 seasons, 3 seasons, 4 seasons. So
things even themselves out.
yeah, and that, again, like they do in football, you know, and so I'll look at my 5.5 years now, and I'm personally quite proud of where we've come to. If we lose on Saturday, it's not, you know, it's not for me to then, it's not as much of a thing for me because I'm just looking at this, not only this 5.5 years, the next 5.5 years, well, 4.5 years. I said I'd give it 10, so nearly there.
They say, and don't get too high with the highs and don't get too low with the lows, and I think that's a great advice to give people, but when emotions are involved, it's impossible. Yeah,
I get that one email that can ruin your day, and managing that emotion is actually a massive challenge. And I try and think, although I'm different now for a few reasons, but like we could win 4-0 and we can lose 4-0, and again, when you're in it for a long time, we've done both of them. You know, so like that's gonna happen if you look at. And I think some of the times I look around the people that are in the football clubs we go and visit and the people that are very high and very low, and you just think, I don't think you're going to last long in this game. You've got to like chill and just let things go and look at it over a longer period. And I think that that's definitely a message I'd say for people who want to get involved in this, is definitely learn to manage your emotions as best you can do.
When you took over the club, did you take any? Did you look at any local clubs as an inspiration of where you want to get to and what they've achieved?
Yeah, massive, and it's well known, especially with Mrs. F at home. I have to go to quite a few games in the week. If we haven't got a game, I'll go out and find a game, because you're going to the games to go, right, what are their food outlets? What are they serving? What's their ticket system? How do they operate? This, that, and the other. To sort of learn from. So I think when you look at footballers from my end, as in the business end of it, if you know what I mean, then I didn't look at football that way before. So I kick myself now because we made the playoffs. I'm going to say, was it 2016? I think it was 2015, 2016. And I was at that playoff semi-final at the Valley against Leamington, but I didn't go there with the eyes I would have now. So look at the operation and how the crowd was managed and whatever. So I go round to grounds to keep looking. I love going to different grounds. We had a player that went to Ross County a couple of years ago and then moved to Gateshead, and I went to go and watch him twice. And once I was going to go and see him, I went to go and see what the other grounds do. And you've got to look at people above you mainly. His work, you know. So I often go to step 2, step 1 games when I can. You know, we've been treated to a few like Villa Park and whatever for hospitality, because that's, you know, obviously that's the elite bit, but you can always take something from it. I think at the start, one of the differences, when at the start I looked at the clubs in our level and what do they do better than us, and then I fast realised, again, go back to that culture of premium non-league. We're going to have to be better than that. If we want to go to the next level in every respect. I've said this a few, and I think clubs are guilty of this. The team can get promoted, but if the club isn't ready to get promoted, you aren't going to last very long. So the difference, I think, now from the immediate bit is, I'll work it very quickly, we can't look at people around us. We've got to look at people above us and try and model that. So if we're trying to get step 1, step 2, we've got to behave like one of those clubs. And the clubs that aren't ready for the level above don't stay there. And that, again, that's football. That's just football.
So what's your favourite non-league ground? They're
nuanced, because non-league grounds are, unless you're really lucky, like York City or Fylde, whatever. They've had a purpose-built ground done. I mean, that's like a kid sketching something and going, how amazing is this? So they're obviously, you know, Telford's grounds. Like, I mean, I imagine would easily be able to get into the Football League.
Yeah, it's like Hensford's ground as well.
Yeah, well, especially now. But like, that's fine. They were purpose built, and obviously they're great. And I wish we had access to something like that. But then at the same time, non-league grounds traditionally, and I said we were there in the 40s. Most of our infrastructure in the stand and the main stand and the terracing was built in the 70s. So some of the grounds, you actually like them because they're a little bit nuanced and a bit strange and a bit unique. And I think ours is very much like that. Our ground is, it's a patchwork of time. So many bits have been added and changed, and that's, you know, and when it went from a 3G to from a grass pitch to a 3G, that fundamentally changes it because it's no longer just a football ground. You've got to think about goal storage areas and, you know, access points and car parking and whatever else. So I would say, yeah, if you ask me, it would be like your Fylde and York Cities and whatever. And I do think, you know, for us as a town, I think if there ever was a point where we had access to getting that to happen, and most of these grounds are built, you know, with the council in mind. So again, while I'm trying to really engage them, I think Redditch would benefit from a purpose-built ground, not just a football club. I think the town would. You know, why can't we have different bands and different big events on, big festivals? Well, we can't at the moment because nowhere to go because you barely find a room big enough to put your family in, like, you know. So they're the sort of things. I think longer term, I think if the club's really going to progress, I think it's got to look down that route. I mean, having a football ground, as we said, with no footpath, and well, very soon we'll have street lighting, which is hidden away down a dark road, you know, that people don't know is there. I think longer term, if the club's really going to progress, and I think a big part of the time will be to have something that's going to get people to Redditch. At the moment, we're very linked to Birmingham. Train station from Redditch will get to Birmingham in like half an hour, and that's what people do all the time. And there's a big thing at the moment about trying to renovate the train station. Well, that does nothing for me. Let's renovate something in the town that's going to bring people to the train station. You know, if we're outside of Redditch to come to Redditch, I think is the next big thing. And that would be a dream that maybe I can't happen. Maybe it won't be in my time, but if we can lay the seeds and make that happen, I think that's where the club can really take off.
I'm going to go into the other side of you being a chairman. Obviously, your first team. From when you've taken over, you've had 3 managers? Well, was Dwayne Darby still there when you were there?
No.
So you've had 4.
Yeah.
You've had 4. In 5.5 years now you've been there?
Yeah.
4 managers is quite decent. You've had a lot of stability.
Yeah.
And out of them, the managers that have probably left have left on their own accord, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, all of them.
All of them, yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Well, on their own, of course, probably not right, but yeah. Well, I haven't had the darkest conversation with one as of yet.
Yeah. No. As of Mike, if you're watching.
yeah. As of yet.
As of yet.
How are
you as a chairman in terms of with your manager? To be honest with you, I've had some feedback from one of your managers, and he said you're the best chairman he's ever worked for.
Yeah, good.
So what is it that you do? Do you just let your managers take reins and deal with everything they have to deal with, or do you get involved? How does it work?
I mean, if you've had that from one manager, you haven't spoken to all of them, have you? I obviously try and get, in terms of the football end of it, I'm as less involved as you probably can be.
Yeah.
Ultimately, teams come down to numbers next to the players when you write the list out like you did in your dream team, you know, from the Sun newspaper when I was a kid. So there is a, you know, collaborative bit. My things are, I couldn't care what you come to a meeting with me, you're going to tell me about what formation you're going to play, and I'm going to switch off so quick, which is bizarre because, I mean, I started my I did my B license, started my A license with Jason Lee at one point, and then yeah, and again probably because almost like with the staff, like there was some good people in that room. I thought I'm not, you know what I mean. I didn't see my career going that way, so I was full-time coaching for probably 10 years, but that's now not me, and I don't think that helps. You're going to give a manager a role, that's their job, and they've got to live or die by that, and I've had some great people to work with. I think I've said about my relationship, and I've been relatively open with this with people, and they've asked me, when you look at picking a manager, there's certain things. So for me, it's they've got to understand the club, they've got to understand the level above, because ultimately that's what you're trying to get to. They've got to have a great network for players. You know, that's the locally. I think you've seen at all levels of football, you know, if like Wayne Rooney, for example, he's an elite level footballer. I think him working in the Championship and League One, it's just different. Like, you wouldn't put a step 3 manager in at the Premier League. Everyone gets that, but they think it works the other way around. I don't think it does either. So you've got those little bits, but one of the things that I'm relatively open about, and you know, it's not just on me. We've still got other directors, but I have a big part of it to play, and I am quite selfish in I want someone I want to work with, because they're the person that I'll spend 6-7 days a week on the phone to every day. They're with us, and that's non-league football, and it's someone that you've got to work with. So I think one of the differences, I think, I don't know other clubs, but I'm quite open with our managers about the club, because I need the managers to buy into what we're trying to do as a whole club. Because again, if the club's going to get promoted, it's more like the team can, but the club's got to as well. So they're quite brought into the way we operate and what's important. So then they're brought in when we do a free entry game, why we do that, and what's the importance of it, and engaging with supporters, engaging with some of our community activities. So I'm quite open with them, and with that respect, then you've got to work really closely with them. So personality-wise, they've got to, you know, and you see what they do with other clubs maybe they've worked in and the way they've operated in. And again, another part of going to the grounds and speaking to people, and I think non-league football is especially built on that, knowing people and understanding. And the reason that, you know, I think we've had longer term managers is because we've got that bit right at the start. You know, football's football, and not everything works out, you know, is the way it is, but we've always gone in with quite a clear understanding of what we're trying to do. And then, you know, managers moved on for loads of different reasons with us. But one of the things when you start to look at what you're looking around you and what you look at other clubs, generally speaking, clubs that have done well around our level, they've done it with stability. Very, very rarely will you see, until Mike does it this year, I'm sure, you won't see a new manager go into a club in the summer and then have a really good, if not get promoted season. It takes time, because there's a lot of quite transient non-league anyway. I mean, it takes time to get a squad, then add a bit, then tweak a bit, then find out what you've got. And stability is key, I believe, massively. If you chop change, you're always going to struggle, and you often find struggling clubs do that. Which, whether it's chicken and egg in that, you know, when things aren't working well in football, everyone wants to change everything. Sometimes that's not actually the way, because if you look at it, where, I mean, we had 6 games when Matt first stepped away, season before last. Yeah, but so when he stepped away, the assistant manager went in, and that was again around the stability, and the coaching staff and the assistant manager at the time carried on. And a lot of people, again, not knowing scenarios and what it is, expected maybe an interim or whatever. And it's like, I don't think that would help. Now, when you then lose 6 games in a row, it's like, well, couldn't have got any worse. Yeah, well, actually, it could have done. You just don't know. And I think that the thing that outside of, you know, the decision maker, it's not your decision. It's easy. Like I said, culturally, I'll ban 2 words: should and could. I'd never listen to them. Someone says the word should and could to me, I'll tell them they're not allowed to, and I'll switch off quick. But the thing, we should have put an interim in. Well, who's to say that would have been any better? You can't. You don't know that, and so you only can prove what you've done. And I'm broad enough to, when you make a decision, we'll stick with it, and this is the reason. And I think often possibly doing the things that the people around you are maybe screaming at, possibly is more weakness in non-league. You know, every manager's been through a barren bit, and it's, we need to get rid of them. You're like, whoa, hang on a minute. Do you understand, when you change a manager, especially at our level with not as many players on contract, like that can absolutely wreck everything. it's so it dismantles what might have been built so far, and so you've got to be patient. I mean, if Alex Ferguson, his start at Man United was atrocious, really.
Yeah.
But it takes a bit of time to get these things in place to be able to build. So stability is like massive, and I think getting the right person in. And again, football's football, and things do change. But that's I definitely would think that's helped us.
There was a period between Matty Clark's first stint and Matty Clark's second stint where you had Tim Flowers.
Yeah.
And you were absolutely flying.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ended up leaving for Alvechurch. Were you blindsided by that at any point, or did you know it was going to happen? What was your reaction to that?
No, I mean, I got a phone call from their chairman, I think I'm right in saying Wednesday.
Yeah.
Probably being quite open about it. I was relatively blasé because I just didn't think, but I think for Tim, going to work in the day, which is what he's always done, and I get it from a personal point of view, was a big draw. I didn't see that coming. I spoke to Tim on Friday, and that was that. We were done, and I think football, if someone just want to be with you, then you sort of move on. And Tim had been great in the time he'd been with us, and we got on. We get on now. Well, now again, that's football, and I get from his personal life, the reasons that he moved on, no problem at all. Again, there's no point burning bridges. It's just it is what it is. So that was. That's just like one of the things that you go from that Relentless, and went from a phone call on Wednesday to I needed to manage on Friday, and it's like, okay, wow, that was an interesting few days, and that can happen, and these things do happen.
That paved the way to bring back Matt Clark for the second stint. Was that obviously there was an issue at the end of the season before that, and that's why Tim Flowers came in. Do you regret not waiting in that time frame to maybe bring Matt Clark back in at the beginning of the season? No.
No, I think what mattered, and again over a period of time, we just made the playoffs, and unfortunately for Matt, he wasn't there to have the celebrations with us, and was obviously a huge part in getting us where we were. We talk about that season as like that was a great season, that was a great team. Naive to think that wasn't built over the previous 4 seasons. Very naive for people to not understand that. And so Matt left, an issue outside of football, and so.
Do you regret any of your handling over that issue?
No, not at all. Yeah. 100%. No doubt. And again, what people don't see is you've got, and it's probably very much a me thing. And if you speak to Alan, our secretary, because I often have to do this with leagues and the FA, like, I'll defend us to the hilt, and the people that are within us. And if anything, quite proud of the way we as a club sort of dealt with an issue that was nothing to do with us. And, time then told that it wasn't an issue. And so, and that period of people not knowing and whatever. But we've gone through a few things now as a club that you've got to do things sometimes that maybe, and you can't explain everything, but just leave it with me and trust me on this one, and we're going to do what we do. Would someone else done it differently? Yes. Will someone come say you should have done this and could have done that? Well, I ignore that straight away. Of course they do. And so bringing Matt back in was, very easy because we had 24 hours the next game, and you go back to the stability, someone you've worked with and you understand, someone who understood a lot of the players in the group at the time. And so it was a sort of no-brainer really for that. I know that the rest of that season didn't work out well, but again, naive to think there's a million reasons as to why that was. And for me, predominantly was because we'd done so well the previous year. So players that do well, especially when we're fighting way above our weight in terms of the finances in the league, they've had a good season. They're on people's radar. Some left in the summer, some left after that. And again, the instability of losing a manager, the vultures come quickly, and the team that we had at the start of that season under Tim and the team we had at the end of the season under Matt were just a different breed. And when things don't go well, you've then got to get different players in, and you've got to then often spend more money than you think that maybe they're worth at the time, because you've got to get them in and if things aren't going well for you, you've got to do probably a bit more to get them in. And in the end, again, if you'd gone a different route, would that have happened? Would this have happened? Well, we'll never know. But we managed staying there.
People don't realise that at times, if you're fighting at the top of whatever step 3, let's say, compared to if you're in a relegation battle, you probably need different people and different characters.
Yeah.
Sides of it.
I think, again, everyone in football at all levels, they don't like their star players leaving. I mean, look at Trent Alexander-Arnold, with Liverpool and Real Madrid. But then at the same time, players that do well move on. Yeah. So we had players that moved on quite a lot in that period, but we've had them over the time. And I always say to supporters, well, if you're upset a player's left because they've played well at our level, which generally means they've done well at our level, they've played better than our level. Yeah. If they then move on to something better than our level, or in today's world, the concept of they move for 20 quid is way gone now. Yeah. I mean, you're talking like doubles and fucking hundreds of pounds more, So like, if they've done that and they've earned that for themselves as well, that's their reward. Great, when Max went to Ross County, that's unbelievable. That's like, he played. I think our last game of the season was at home to Tamworth. His next game was away at Celtic Park. It's like, but you've almost got to accept, as a football fan, not just non-league, you've got to accept that good players will move on and they will get, whether that's financially rewarded or higher level, that's part of football. Enjoy the time you've got them, but the ones that you're not disappointed when they leave, we've had a team of them, you wouldn't be in a division for much longer, would you? If you have a team that gets you promoted, things are gonna happen, and we try our best. And again, this is where it's really important to build the club as well as just the team. So then when you do have the good season, and where we fell down at the time, we were above our weight. So then the vultures come, and we couldn't compete with some of the offers of either higher level or better finances. If we were a bigger club, which I think we're better now than we were 2 years ago, then hopefully we can create that stability and sustain that level, and those players will be ideal.
Matty Clark ended up leaving again in the summer.
Yeah.
When you were looking for a manager, what were you looking for at this particular moment in time? The same as what you normally look for?
Yeah, pretty much.
How did Mike Fowler fit into that?
He'd done a lot with younger players, which is great, and I think what our club and supporters of our club will back me up on this in saying they want young players to get behind. I think we've had some really good ones that have progressed on.
Billy Fielding was really good when he came on the other day.
Yeah, example of another one we've got at the moment, but we've had that, so I think that speaks for them, and they've got behind that. Local is obviously ideal as well, and if they've come through our system, which we've had quite a lot of success, players that have genuinely played with us. I mean, even like to Henry Smith a few years ago, like playing our under sevens and then in the first, like doesn't really happen very often. That's like a jewel, really. Like those people that have come through. Bunny at the moment, he was part of the under 19s when I was running it. So they buy into that. Yeah. So that's them sort of stories. And again, a local lad who works at a school locally, they're dreamland really for what you're trying to achieve as a football club. So that was a big standout. And I'd spoke to him before. I spoke to him the summer before. I've known of him. He knows the level above. Obviously, being ex-pro himself, but also worked at step 1 and step 2. So has a knowledge of that. Great for recruitment, as I think the season's planned out to prove so far this year. And someone I just thought would get on with. And if you look at the managers, especially like Matt, Tim, and Mike, someone that you can just can do the fighting for you, and we can quite constructively have a row about stuff, and like it's not just someone that you can you can challenge, and someone who can outfight your fight, because as much as people think like the board or the chairman's got to back the manager, the other way around at times as well. And you got to have someone that you think's got your back. And I think we spoke quite a few times beforehand, and you always have a look around at what may be next, and it ticks a lot of boxes, and so far that's proving really, really well. Him being full time within a football club and running the education programme is a big advantage, because he's around the club full time, so we just see more and we get to speak more often and whatever. So if we carry on progressing up, half the team's in step 2 now are hybrids and full times, and is that something we'd eventually look at? Yeah, maybe. Mike will be very well suited for that. And yeah, we'll carry on trying to achieve what we can this year and in the future, and we'll see where the next ride in the roller coaster takes us.
I don't really know Tim Flowers, but knowing of Matty Clark and worked with Mike, I see a trend here on the kind of people that you employ as your manager. They're people that are, you know where you stand with them. They're people that are honest and open, and they will tell you they will tell you the truth, whether it's a harsh truth rather than sugarcoating bullshit. Really, do you think that's something that you work really well with?
100%.
Yeah.
I think anybody else, I'd probably manipulate them.
Yeah.
No, I would, because I want someone who can. And I like the staff across the club and people across the club. I like feedback. I've got no problem with it. Like, you know, so you want people that are going to tell you how it is as well, because that's what you need. It's just get it out there. And I've got no. That's something that I'd actively encourage. And yeah, probably someone who is just going to go out there and be the front of it, because it's a tough gig. You know, it's a tough gig from a manager's perspective. If someone's got to go through that, you know, we've been through some very, very lows and some very, very big highs, and so you've got to have someone who can sit with you and fight the fight with you over a period of time, not just the good times. You know, I think it's a life lesson. You can go on holiday with anyone and have a good time, but you know, that night, I was say about my missus, that night when one of our kids is in hospital at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you know, who do you want with you then? And so there's a little bit of that as well. But yeah, there's probably a trend. There's no doubt about that, and I've got no problem if that's out there. Then I think it's great.
You talked about in terms of finances and you're competing above your stationing. What would you say in terms of your finances? Where would you expect to finish?
I always take people's budgets with a pinch of salt, because I think things are said. And so you don't actually know is a big part of it, especially now, providing people are doing things with the right way, with the appropriate national insurance contributions and pay slips as they should be, which I don't know is the case for all of non-league, where the people's budgets are and wherever you are. But again, football's, it's an open book really. The team with the most money often wins. Not always. But if you're going to give yourself the best chance, that's what you want to do. You know, that's football again at all levels. The reason, you know, the teams at the top of the Premier League, stats of the Premier League, is predominantly financial. So for us at the moment, I would probably make a guess, and it's a guess. We're probably lower mid-table, I would imagine, in terms of what we're spending. Lots of different reasons as to that, and so you've got to finish around that. Now, one of my challenges that I've set myself all the time is, if you look at your average attendances in the league, my belief is if the club is in a good place, you know, and there's still debts from the past that we're paying off another bit, so we've just spent over 200 grand on having the 3G resurfaced and whatever. So there are nuanced bits to this, which I think members of our club are well informed about. If you look at the attendance league table, that should replicate the league table. So if you're high up in the average attendance, but you finish low in the league, you've got a problem. But I also say it's the other way around. If you're bottom of or lower end of the attendance league table and you're at the top or the top half of the league, you got a big problem.
Yeah, because no one's coming to watch you, even though you're successful.
And then if you're successful and then you get promoted, say, you're even lower down the pecking order. So it works both ways in that respect. And so for me now, I think we're 6th, 7th in the attendance league table. Bearing in mind, you know, we give out the best value, not cheapest, season ticket in the division. We're often doing lots of different things. We've just part of planning our next free entry game we do once a year, which obviously inflates, you know, where we are. All under 13s are free to our games. That helps. So we're probably not bringing in as much per head as other teams, but you know, that's where we sit. So that's then the challenge. You've got to try and fit somewhere around that. And at the moment, we're above that. So I'm more than happy. If you were well below that, you wouldn't be as happy. And if you're way, way, way above that, then I've got a lot more work to do to try and balance them books out as quick as you can do.
what's your ambition in the next 4.5 years? Because that will be your 10-year mark.
Yeah.
Where do you want to be?
Yeah, well, so I did say I'd give it 10 years. So
where do you want to be
it's
in
10
10
years for
years?
me. So I've got 4.5 years to what I want. I think financially secure and stable is great. That's always the aim. So that's probably the most fundamental thing then, because then when it goes to the net or however happens, it's in a good place to move on. And then in an ideal world, you'd be playing above the level for your men's team, and 1 or 2 for our women's team would be the ideal. And making sure it's sustainable, because I think when you've got a lot of clubs that are out there now that if someone were to, the shareholders or whatever it is, move that club on, if that person's propped it up for years and years, it actually becomes a bit of a poison chalice and almost like a weight, because they've ran unsustainably. And that's why you saw Colville in our league a couple of years ago. Originally we were going to fold, and they've gone down step 6.
Hinkley Road, Leicester as well.
Yeah, because if it comes to the point where that person then doesn't want to keep putting that money in anymore, those benefactors, they sound great in football, but if you look at it over a long term, and again, football shows you Gretna FC, Russian and Diamonds, the list goes on. So it's got to be in a position that the next person, as well, can be able to put their stamp on it and hopefully help it to progress again. It's 130 odd years old. I say this all the time. It's actually one of my bugbears at the moment. My take on it, I'm a custodian.
Yeah.
Our other directors, we're just custodians. We won't be here forever. The dream is the football club will.
Yeah.
And if the club weren't to be here on our watch, that's the bit I couldn't sleep at night. So the thing that's coming now, and I don't know if it's an Americanism, of which we know the English language is full of it, or whether it's a change in football culture, which for me is a concern. Why is everyone now called an owner? Yeah. I've never, ever, ever heard that term 20 years ago. Yeah. Football club owners. Where's that suddenly come from? I find that bizarre. And I do think partly it's an Americanism, because obviously in America you own a franchise, and that's what they would term. They don't use the chair person name. They wouldn't use that. It's an owner. So I get that. So then if that's come across the pond, which a lot of things have, let's face it, that might be part of it. But is it a change in culture of football? Which for me as a football fan, I think that's concerning. Yeah. What do you own? Often, especially grounds at our level, that you're probably not playing at a ground you own.
Exactly, yeah.
What do you actually own? You own the rights to a badge, and you own the ticket to playing the league at that pyramid. So the league in the pyramid that is at that time. That's actually really what you own. And if you act like you own it, then you won't do very well, from what we said before about people and buying in and all the rest of it. So for me, it's an interesting debate, that is, and I've had that with a few people now, where this owner thing's come into it, and I'm quite interested to see where that progresses.
Last question then, what advice would you give to someone that wants to become a chairman of a football club or a custodian of a football club? I'm not going to use the word own a football club. Good lad. Chairman or a custodian, what advice would you give him?
Good people around you. I think, again, it's the same as football, people you trust and all that sort of comes into it. Good people around you. Do lots of learning. Look at the way things are. Do a monthly P&L. Again, it's businesses, they don't do this, they sort of get to tax years, they don't really know. Monthly P&L, track your numbers, mad. I'm all over that. You've got to be on that. Don't be afraid to crack some eggs.
Yeah. What were the eggs that you cracked?
Culture. I'm constant battles with the league of the way things are done and used to be done, and things like changing the function room at our bar from bright red walls into a function room was a culture change for people. And at the start, people didn't understand it, and then now they're seeing the benefit of it. So, it's changing the narrative. For us at the start was all about it's not the burgers on a match day. Yeah. We bought the cheapest ones you could buy. Why? If you give someone a quality product. The 100% beef burger was like 12p each more or something stupid like. Well, you charge 12p more and people are probably going to like them. Yeah, probably just around the culture bit.
What's your biggest pet peeve in the non-league? I'm going to put one out here.
Go on then.
I don't like the fact that, you know, when team gets reprieves, like if you're getting relegated, you're getting reprieves. I think like for example, let's say someone's getting relegated from step 3, and they get a reprieve. Instead of that, they should get relegated, but the next team in step 4 should go up.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Why? Because the team that have just been relegated at step 3, for example, are going to be more prepared for the next season than the team that might have finished 4th at step 4.
No, but it wouldn't be 4th, it'd probably be 2nd, isn't it?
Well, it's 1 up and then the playoffs ain't normally, so 3rd. Wherever the playoff bit lies, yes. It'd probably be more.
For the playoff.
I'd imagine they'd be more prepared to make the league then more sustainable. And we talk about like it's understanding the pyramid. That's the bit that I think I'm quite passionate about trying to educate people on more or whatever it is, because like parachute payments and all them, they're very important to the pyramid of football. So when people talk about football, they naturally think about the Premier League and the big balls, whatever. But the reason English football is revered by everybody in the world, like facts, the FA Cup, the football pyramid. I mean, we've got professional teams now at like step 3 and non-league. It's crazy. But that's not necessarily always from an understandable model. That's because people are interested in it. If you're going to create that, what we've got is unique. So forget about the American model, which, by the way, I think is unbelievable. But it's different. It's a different culture, a different system, franchises and the way they've got to go to university and college football. Brilliant. I absolutely think it's a great model, especially for education. But English football is the best thing ever in sport because it's been there for years. It's the way it is. So when you talk about closed leagues, no, we ain't having that. You've got to look at the pyramid. So making sure you can promotion and relegation at every level is possible. So, you know, at the moment, the big gap between step 1 and the Football League, 2 teams up. What's that all about? Because the teams that get promoted often get promoted again. So what you've created in the pyramid at the moment is a massive bottleneck. So it's the 3 up thing at the moment, and we're supporting that on Saturday. It's massive because, again, from a competition point of view, like I said, it's about our women's team. They're in a league of 12 at the moment, and 1 team gets promoted. Well, women's football's in a very so it's changing really, really quickly. The pyramid of women's football at the moment for me isn't adapting quick enough to the way that teams are changing. The teams that are progressing, the clubs that are progressing, aren't being able to progress a lot further. So you'll see, and I say it's not exclusive to women's football, but you see a lot more of 9-0. And so it needs to create a flow that enables people to be at the right level of where they should be as a club and a team and whatever. So that bit between step 1 is one example. But if you go back to your reprieves, I just think that would make the league fairer. And I know it might be frustrating, but the teams that if all the teams that get promoted are then getting promoted again, so actually you find this in our level, the team that gets promoted from step 5 often get promoted from step 4.
So I think
it doesn't happen again though, does it?
So I've seen that where people would say that historically, and I know things have changed with the UCL and things like that, but when I first got into non-league, MFL Premier was like one of the toughest leagues to get out of. It was very competitive. You looked at like when it did break into the UCL and you're thinking, I wish we were in the UCL, but it looks a bit easier. Like you'll have teams like Racing Club Warwick, for example, they would have finished 7th or 8th or maybe top 10 maybe, or Cough Sphinx maybe top 15, but end up going to UCL and get promoted straight away. So the MFL Premier has always been historically hard to get out of, but then you look at teams like Bromsgrove, Alvechurch, they've got back-to-back promotions. So as soon as they get out of step 5 to 4, they're out of step 4 and back into step 3. But step 3 is where, okay, now it's competitive. It's
and you've got more established teams, and it's getting that balance. So when you talk about, so at step 4, I think I'm right in saying, is it 8 divisions? No. Yes, there's 8 divisions at step 4, and then bizarrely I think it's 15 at step 5. You can't have one of those divisions in that step that's way better than the other. So like you've got to think of it outside of your league, outside of your club, the pyramid. And so that bit, if teams are going 5-4, and I get there's lots of reasons that might happen. If they go again, and again you've got teams that do 3 promotions in a row. They eventually go, yeah, this is our level, and they'll probably stretch it too far, which is fair enough, you give it a go. But you almost don't want that for your club.
Do you think in step 3, the division that you're in, and obviously we look at it from a locally perspective, and you've got a lot of derbies, and you've won a lot of derbies this season.
All of them.
All of them, exactly. 5 out of 5, is it?
I believe so, yeah.
Do you think that your division is the hardest one across the step 3?
Traditionally, everyone would say the North, but I don't think that's the case. I think you look at the FA Trophy and things like that, it's probably favoured us more. Again, it's different.
In your league, you've got Hales Owen, you've got Stourbridge, Bromsgrove, yourselves, Alvechurch.
Yeah, and that's where, again, you look at the pyramid. Like, it's good that we're all doing well, if you know what I mean. We need the pyramid to do well, and I think everyone, even like down to like the way the governance of our league board is changing now. They were traditionally, all the board of directors were attached to a club. They've got to go independent. Like they've got the governance of football needs to be independent, because you can't trust people to not have a thing about their own club, can they? And so you're making decisions based on things that will affect you. And so it's got to be a bit more independent. I know I've brought a few independent directors onto the board at the moment, which I think is a real positive step. Because you've got to just look at it as a much, much, much bigger thing than your league. But it's interesting about you said about the promotion from step 5 to 4. No one goes 4 to 3. Like I can't think last time that's happened.
Did Alvechurch do that?
Oh, sorry, not 4 to 3. 3 to so there's one step 4. They've gone promoted from 5. They've got promoted. They've gone to 3. They don't go 3 to 2. That's what. They don't go 3 to 2. And then when we look at what an exceptional job that Andy Peaks and Tamworth have done the last few years, they went even more rare. You don't win our league and then go win step 2. It just don't happen. And now they've done that there. But then I'd argue, not taking away from what they've done, I think Tamworth weren't a step 3 club either to start with. That's a big club, decent fan base, decent facilities, So if you look at putting them in level.
Smudge, because they were flying in that COVID season.
COVID,
And then it's just that whole thing reset.
100%. COVID changed everything, and we benefited. There's an argument without the COVID period. Would the club be there? Is an argument. Would it be at step 3? No. It's a pretty standard thing. So people won and lost, and we won as a football club. And I think that period for me that's where you see the opportunity. And hopefully, we've now become established at step 3, and I know that because our average attendance is there, and our performances over the last few years have suggested that. So we're now an established step 3 club. My job, the job of our board, the job of the people at our club is to make us an established step 2 club.
Did you ever doubt that you're going to go from the attendances when you took over to the attendances that you are now? Did you ever feel like... Did you ever doubt that you're going to get to them numbers?
Yeah. Oh, every now. I wouldn't have in a million years said we are where we are now. It was almost like inevitable. We would have got relegated. There's an argument actually, and I said if in the end it happened in July, if it had happened earlier and the option was there, I probably would have. And I know it's not sporting. Whether I would have or not, I don't know. But there's an argument that it would have been better for us to be in a lower division. To try and develop and build up. And you saw that when Hereford reformed, when Bromsgrove Sporting reformed. Bang ba bang, it's all big crowds, everything's exciting. When you find your level, it's like it's harder then to get people in, and maybe we would have benefited by having a bit of a boost. Hales Owen's tendencies went out great at step 4. If they'd been at step 3, would they have had the same impetus? We don't know.
If you'd had done that and gone down to step 4, how do you think the fans would have reacted? Do you think people would have it would have taken them time in that new season to buy into it, or do you think it would have gone the other way.
If I was logical,
Yeah.
I would have gone past step 4.
Yeah.
I'd actually
Five.
gone to 5.
Yeah.
I think logically that's where I saw.
Oh mate, step 5 is difficult, man.
No, it is, but like that's more. I think at step 4 we probably would have struggled.
Yeah.
I think we would have struggled, and the way we did the first few seasons. I mean, the very first season we only played 8 games. I think we finished 5th or 6th. It was crazy.
Yeah.
We drew my first game we drew, and I went, oh, it's not like that bit of credibility back. It was like a bit of a shock to everyone. Bearing in mind, Matt only took over as manager the week before, so it's like this is not good. And I think everyone had written us off. And then the second game, then we went to Banbury away, and we were something like 9-1, 10-1, something stupid. A 2-horse race again, doesn't happen. And we won 1-0, and everyone was celebrating. I didn't speak. I couldn't speak because it felt like it was inevitable we were going to and everyone knew we were going to get relegated. Like everyone knew that, but it didn't happen. And then we started really well, and that was like the first time it felt like there was something to lose, if that makes sense. If you just football's about expectation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like if everyone around you is expecting you to get relegated, well, if you win a game, it's brilliant. But if you don't, oh well. And we're now in a bit where people expect a lot more of us. So that was really like, I remember that going like, I couldn't speak. I was like, oh my God, I've actually got something to lose now, if that makes sense. And then we finished well that season. The season after then, we were bottom of the league at Christmas. And we had to turn that round, and we did, which is hard. Bottom of the league, like hard to attract players. Very hard to bring people in, change things. And again, we stuck with the manager at the time and knew what it was, and then we've got the rewards later on down the line. But I said I'll write a book one day. It'll be very interesting, I'm sure. But there's so many like memories and so many bits, and I find it really interesting sat with our supporters, and we've got a load of them on a coach to Suffolk on Saturday, so we have a bit of time. But that's what people remember, what people forget. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that happened. And some people have, I was terrible even when I played. I couldn't remember anything, but some have got such an encyclopedic knowledge of every game, every team, and players that have come and gone. And it's just, we've just had a history wall put up at the club, all through the main sort of foyer. And that's basically goes back to 1891 and highlights of our history. And it's really important for me, I think, personally, as a reminder of, hey, we've got some pretty cool history in that wall. If you make sure have a read of it, some really interesting stuff in there. But also, that's like, it's a snapshot. So my time will be a snapshot. And on a lesser scale this season, it's a snapshot. Saturday's game, it's such a snapshot of like it's such a big thing, a massive institution in the town, a massive institution of football. So we're older than quite a lot of the teams in the Premier League. We're one of the oldest football clubs in the country, in the world, if you look at it that way. So it's all just a snapshot. When we go back about managing that emotions, well, good and bad things are going to happen now. They've happened in the last 5.5 years. They're going to happen in the next 4.5 years. They're going to happen in the rest of the club's history. But fundamentally, the club's got to be there, and that's the most important part.
That's a perfect place to finish.
Top man.
Thank you very much, David.
Thanks for your time.